Okay, so I hope you read the disclaimer. And this isn't a normal thing that we do, but I said to myself, self, and I said back, hello. And then I said self again. And then I realized I was just talking to myself and I'm crazy. But nonetheless, here we are. And it's WrestleMania weekend coming up. And I thought, what better way than to sit down with our good friend, KJ the Outturn, because I feel that it's like, really insulting if I were to refer to you as an intern because you're so much better than that. You got to be a real idiot to just be an intern. Anyways, I said, why not sit down with the guy from the Colossal Tussle podcast, a guy who knows everything about older matches, the throwbacks, the clapbacks, as we call them here on Live Auto Wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to have a little chat. And I said to him, what's your favorite WrestleMania? And he says to me, 19. Coincidentally, the age that you have to be to drink in the country of Canada. So it's no surprise. KJ, first of all, how are you doing this evening? Thank you so much. Let's have some fun. What's going on?
Yeah. Thank you. I just woke up from a nap, so I'm feeling good.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
A nap.
Yeah.
How old are you?
I'm 29, and I came home from work, and I had a quick naparoo in preparation so that I was high energy for the pod.
Well, I am one of those two words, and energy isn't the one. So I did not have a nap because I don't know if you know this or not, KJ. Full-grown men don't take naps, at least until you get into those elder years, or you're like slumped in a chair after a couple of tequilas and you don't remember which fight you're watching on TV.
No, you see, you got to catch up with it. I'm the type of guy that's catching up on that time. I'm making up the time now, and just getting in that extra mileage of sleepage.
All right. Well, I said to myself all the time, see, there I go again. What? I said, you really should make the time to take naps, especially on your days off. Guess what I never get to do, KJ? I never get to take a friggin' nap.
It's good. I recommend it. Honestly.
KJ for Prime Minister. What happened to the first three KJs? Why is it KJ4?
If I am elected, believe you me, there will be mandatory nap times across all of Ontario only. I'll experiment with Ontario first.
Well, I mean, if you're going to experiment,
exactly.
Ontario is where you want to do it. All right.
It's going to Rob Ford it.
Are you looking forward to this WrestleMania, first of all? WrestleMania 40, they say it's going to be the biggest, the best, the most indubitably incredible match ever.
I've been talking about it a lot on my podcast, the Colossal Tussle, and honestly, and I know that I always sound like a curmudgeon, but no, I'm not. It's just, for me, I've struggled in the last year or so to really be excited about anything wrestling related. If I'm honest, the Rock came back, and I just found it to be a little bit of a convoluted story and mess, and I know that they were dealing with injuries and stuff, and they had to pivot. But the idea of taking Cody Rhodes out of the main event, then putting him back in because people are getting pissy, and then there's a tag match, and it's just for what seems like it's going to be just a no DQ match stipulation if they win or lose. And the only thing that I'm really excited for, if I'm honest with you, is Seth Rollins and Drew McIntyre, but I wish that they had a little more time to actually build their rivalry, because Seth has had to juggle the tag match and the bloodline and the McIntyre thing, and the only real segment that I was like, ooh, this is good shit, was when it was Punk, McIntyre, and Seth and their promo work. I think it was this past Monday.
And then Punk went and had to mess all of that up.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just, those are the kinds of things that are kind of irritating me about, just wrestling on the whole right now.
Get this straight. The wrestling as a whole is irritating you because of the injuries that these guys get while preparing, and what you do to prepare for them is take a freaking nap?
No, no, that doesn't irritate me. What irritates me at the moment is just how much real world is kind of taking away from my immersion, if that
Uh,
makes sense. I feel like there's a certain limit to how much real world you allow into your storylines. I feel once you cross that kind of threshold, it becomes very Vince Russo. It becomes
it's
a
because
little.
do you have a hard time like differentiating?
Uh, I suppose that's pretty accurate in saying. It's just like because I guess with my
You
brother
like
being
you
a
like your lines a little more blurry.
yeah, I
You
like
like it
them a
more
little more
defined, I
blurry.
should say. A little like you like to know that there's a line between, the two instead of just the stuff bleeding over into one
That's
another.
right. That's right.
Got
Because
you.
I
Got
feel when you're putting so much into it, it's like, guys, I want to be able to flick this on and maybe turn off my brain for an hour or so, or just a little bit like that. That's my kind of wrestling, I
Is it
suppose.
is it, and you don't want to see people getting whipped with belts because it brings up trauma or something like that. Like I don't understand. But anyways, all right. So let's talk about what is your favorite
Yep.
WrestleMania. And I
Yes.
posed the question to you off air, and you came back and you hit me up with WrestleMania 19.
That's right. Yeah. I mean, this one is near and dear to my heart because it's a very, very close kind of second to WrestleMania 14. And the reason that is because
That's
they're pretty much.
five away,
Yeah,
actually.
yeah, but these are the first WrestleManias that I watched, in very close succession. So WrestleMania 19 was the one that I watched live. It was my childhood WrestleMania, WrestleMania 19. I got them on two VHS tapes. I recorded them on two VHSs. The frequent and the frantic worry that as soon as it cuts off, you have to run to the fucking VCR, pop in the new one and hit record, and you're like, oh, I can't miss the suplex.
Oh yeah, the worst would be if it like actually died mid-match. You're hoping that you
Yeah,
time it out, even if it's not done and ready. You hit stop anyways, like while there's like the Snickers commercial or
that's
something
right.
like that was happening. Yeah, I get
Absolutely.
it. And I mean, listen, when you said 19, I was thinking about it and I was racking my brain. I was like, oh yeah, this is the one. This is the one where the main event and the big shooting star from Brock. And I mean, and then outside of that, you're racking your brain. I'm like, okay, I can see this. The star power alone that they had at this time on this match. I mean, you think about it. You got your Val Venuses, you got
Hmm.
your
Hmm.
Vince McMahons, you got your
That's
Brock
right.
Lesnar's, you got your Chris Benoit's. It's like
Yeah.
all the who's who of great talent in the WWE at the time. Is that why you enjoyed it so much, KJ?
Yes, yes. Although I will correct you, it's not a Val Venus, it's a Chief Morley, sir. A Chief Morley.
Listen,
I'll
you
have
can
you
put
know.
all the lipstick you want on a pig. You can even put it in some purple lingerie. At the end of the day, we all know what's underneath it.
That's right. That's right. Well, Vince McMahon, near and dear to my heart, big old buddy of mine,
Mhm,
as we know.
mhm,
Brock Lesnar, he's a beast of meat. We've got who else we got? We got Chris Benoit.
mhm.
Chris Benoit, he's a pivotal person in pro wrestling. We see him week to week,
Mm,
still to this day, if
great.
you're looking careful enough.
All right.
So
So, what I suggest is that we do a little bit of a rundown of the
yeah.
matches, and you can tell me what it was that you remember about each one of these things, and
Mhm.
we'll go from there. How about that? How about we start with this one right here? I
Yeah.
mean, to start the whole thing off, WrestleMania 19. Here we go in Seattle, if I remember
That's right.
correctly.
Yeah,
Right?
Safeco Field. Safeco
Yeah,
Field. Yeah,
unbelievable. And we started
agreed.
off with Rey Mysterio, who's still going to this day. He's going to be on this WrestleMania coming up. This is wacky. And Matt
Yeah,
Hardy, who just finished his contract with AEW. I mean, these guys have been around for a minute and a half. There's no doubt about it.
yeah.
Did you
20
enjoy that?
years later. Yeah, 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 20 years later. What I remember most about this and this little stretch of time period is Matt Hardy doing the version 1 thing.
Mhm.
So the Mattitude followers, and then there's Shannon Moore in the corner, the morons, and the little MFer and things like that. And I just remember Taz always coming up with these sexual euphemisms for for Matt Hardy, and like because saying how he has to get down to this certain like 220 or 205 or whatever it was, and having to stay there, and he's just like, oh yeah, he's got to pound the meat, Cole, he's got to pound the protein in, slipping it up, and it's like, how the fuck can you get away with this?
Pay-per-view. That's how you get away with it.
You used to do this on weekly TV. It was insane.
Well, listen, TV was a lot different then. Euphemisms were the name of the game. The Attitude Era was how you could dance that line, right?
Yeah. But this match was so much fun. It was like Rey Mysterio being like super, super innovative, even still right now. This is before he's left me, kept giving him issues. So, so he's still operating at this great level. The cruiserweight title and that stuff. It was like these two were like a favorite for week to week on SmackDown for me. I was a big SmackDown guy. This was on the Score. So this was on Channel 53 on Rogers. It was great. Like I remember so many of these things so vividly because it was just going to my dad's house, popping this on. This was what was going down. So
and this was one of those matches where you know, if you didn't really know, you were like, oh, Rey Mysterio is going to win this match because it's Rey Mysterio, right?
Yeah. It was like, no, Matt Hardy picking up the cheap win, man. It was fast paced. The action never stopped. And then a cheap win for Matt Hardy, still going on with the version 1. He's got the momentum. Just it's a great opener. It's like
right.
just enough to wet your whistle.
All right. Speaking of wet whistles.
Oh dear.
There had to be reinforcements in the ring when we're talking about that was supposed to be a tag match, right?
Yes,
but I mean, the biggest guy in the thing, Nathan Jones or whatever, ends up getting beat up ahead of time, gets taken out of this thing, only to try to do a run in.
Yeah, so like my thing was like I really disliked all three of these guys when I was a kid.
Really?
Like, yeah, I disliked The Undertaker at the time because I was buying the pay-per-views like on a monthly basis. So I bought the Royal Rumble where he comes back, and then I bought No Way Out 2003 where he and the Big Show have a singles match, and it's a near 20-minute singles match, and it is the most boring shit ever. And then they're just like, A-Train. That'll fix it.
Yeah.
That'll spice it up. So we move over here to this, and it's like these three, because Undertaker's not in his best here, in my opinion. A couple years later, he starts to hit his stride, but here he's like, he's the watered down of the Biker Taker. He's long in the tooth here with Biker Taker.
All right.
So it's like you've got three lumbering kind of fools.
But I think at the same time, though, you know, if you look at it that way, cool. Granted, you can have that opinion, and it's okay to be wrong. But if you look at a guy like The Undertaker and a guy like Matt Bloom in the ring together, Big Show still, like, you know, relatively quote quote green to the tenure of those other twos, and Nathan, they were like, listen, we got to figure out how to keep Nathan Jones out of this match entirely.
Yeah.
And so that's what they did. And I mean, two of the smartest guys, Matt Bloom, I mean, there's a reason that he is now the head trainer at WWE PC.
Yeah.
And Undertaker for the longest time has just been a brilliant mind for the business itself. Yes. I think what happens is you just don't like watching big guys tussle.
Obviously not. And when I was a kid, this was definitely not for me because I was watching this. They kind of they do these headlocks in business. It was just like, no.
Well, thankfully, it wasn't that long of a match.
No, it wasn't. And Undertaker goes over, so the right guy wins.
What?
Yeah. Undertaker wins unbelievably, shockingly.
You know, a three-way less than 10 minutes. Now, this next one should have definitely woke you up at that point in your
Mm,
life, I would say, right?
did.
The
Yes.
women's match that was actually, I don't know who made this graphic, because I think this was a three-way, was it not?
Yeah. You got Jazz in there. You got
Yeah.
Jazz in there for the women's title. And yeah, Trish Stratus, my childhood crush. I'm not the only one. But
Really? Can I just
oh,
say, can I go on record that Trish Stratus is like the Jennifer Aniston of professional wrestling? She
mhm.
only gets hotter as she gets older. Like
No
it is,
kidding.
she is clearly somebody who has sold her soul to the devil or something, because it's unbelievable how well she just keeps
Yeah.
aging.
She got the fountain of youth, man. She's got the fountain of youth.
Something's going on there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
All right. So talk me through this match, KJ.
A good triple threat match. I actually really enjoyed this. I remember watching this back quite a few times when I was a babe. Yeah,
Really?
yeah. You
For
wouldn't
the same
believe.
reasons?
Yeah.
Was that part of your spank bank? Is that what you're trying to say to us here, KJ?
Now,
Were you
it,
one of those kids that would you would spank bank to women's
mm,
wrestling matches? Don't answer
well,
that.
mm,
Do not ever answer that. If I ask that question again, keep yourself out of the hot seat. Don't encourage me. Yeah.
no, I'll go there. I'll go there, Tid.
Oh,
All right,
boy.
I'll
Boy.
get it. I'll
All
get
right.
it going. But it was a nice triple threat match. Teddy Long was there, which was very good. So was Steven Richards, who took a hell of a beating
Yeah.
early on in the matches and all that stuff. Victoria and Trish Stratus, they had a very underrated rivalry.
Here's the thing though. You were talking Stevie Richards there, and I don't, as much as I enjoy the spot, I hate the spot at the same time. They go in with the chair, going with the chair, like you're going to hit a girl with the chair, and then out the ropes, ding yourself. Okay, that's a great funny spot and everything like that. But it's really, when you look at it happening, it's really the only outcome
Mhm.
that can happen. There's no like, oh, what if this happened? Like the believability of it is like, oh, he's gonna clune himself, and sure as shit, he clunes himself.
Very true.
So
Yeah. The spot is but yeah, very funny. But yeah, as I was saying, yeah, like Victoria and Trish Stratus had an underrated rivalry during this time period, because at the Survivor Series previous, they had a hardcore match in Madison Square Garden. It was really, really good, and they were kind of just always intermingling with each other during this period, because there weren't that many female wrestlers
right.
on Raw. So, but these guys just had magical chemistry, and Trish Stratus won, which fuck yeah.
And yeah, and they didn't have to be part of the pillow fight.
No. Well, I mean, you save that for the professionals.
Unbelievable. All right, and then we move on, a triple threat tag match for the titles.
Yes.
Right? Unbelievable.
Yes, like these six, the world's greatest tag team. Oh, they don't get talked about nearly as much as they should. I freaking loved Team Angle, but I loved the world's greatest tag team. Just, it's really cool when you have like such really young talent coming in very clearly as the underdogs, both inside the ring and like actually outside, being green and being young, but really not noticing that they are lesser than or young or inexperienced, because they hold their own with Eddie, Chavo, Rhino, Benoit, and these six just fast-paced, high energy, non-stop action, like innovative spots. And this was like a weekly occurrence on SmackDown. I freaking loved this match. It was like one of the, by this point in the show, I was like bouncing up and freaking giddy. And every time I go back to this match, I'm like, because I always forget who wins.
Right.
So I just get to watch the match again as if I'm seeing it for the first time, and it's such a luxury. This
Well,
match is
this was
great.
one of those matches to me that was like it was booked very smart, and you could have had this just as a straight up tag match with any combination of these three teams. There's
Yeah.
no doubt about it. The fact that they did the finish that they did, it was Rhino hits the gore, not the
Mhm.
spear, because people kick out of the spear. If he hits you with the gore, nobody kicks out. And then I think what Shelton Benjamin tagged himself in. Tagged
Yes,
himself
yeah,
in,
there's like a
steals
blind
the pin
tag
and does the thing.
thing.
And listen, anytime that you can get a chance back then to be in the ring with a guy like Eddie Guerrero and Chavo, I mean,
Mhm.
that was really where the chemistry and the gold was with Shelton Benjamin and Charlie Haas. You
Yeah.
kind of felt a little bad for Chris Benoit and Rhino, especially Rhino. So it was kind of one of these like, wasn't really meant to be thrown together. They're not a tag team. There's no like, Haas and Benjamin, boom, tag team.
Mhm.
You knew that.
Yeah.
The two Guerrero brothers or
Yep.
cousins,
Los
brother, you know what I
Guerreros.
mean?
Yep.
You knew there's relation, there's family, there's a reason.
Mhm.
Rhino always managed to get put into these situations where it's like so and so and Rhino.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah, yeah, they're definitely pulling up the rear as kinda like the oddball
and
tag team, but
it wasn't just on this one. Like this is a
no,
regular occurrence for him. So
for sure, for sure.
and then moving right along to what some have said, including, I think the two people themselves, Chris Jericho, Shawn Michaels, um, the best match in definitely on that card,
Mhm. Yep.
and some would say probably the best match that these two have ever had with one another.
I would find that very hard to argue because this is top 5, one of my favorite matches
Okay.
ever. This one really, really made me a wrestling fan, especially a wrestling fan of Shawn Michaels in particular, because this is his first WrestleMania back after being gone for ages. Perfect face heel dynamic. I hate Chris Jericho. I love Shawn Michaels, and it's like these two clashing, and it's a perfect style, a perfect mix, and the story is top tier, so simple, everyone can get it. The teacher and the student, the icon and the guy that idolizes him, that needs to beat him in order to be like, I have to prove that I'm on his level. I have to prove that I'm better than him. It's like anything you can do, I can do better. This story. So he does the sweet chin music at one point, does the kip up, does the posing, and then Sean does it as like uh Jerry Lawler, one of the few like unbelievable iconic calls that he is like, was it real or was it Memorex? And he nails him with the chin music. It's like, oh, a fantastic match just from start to finish, and he does the roll up in order to get the win, and Shawn Michaels has like, "Yeah, great," and then it seems like Jericho and Shawn are gonna have this, tender moment, and Jericho kicks him right in the dick, and Shawn just melts down his body and just pushes like, "You're such a dick." I can't say enough good things about this match.
Yeah, it's definitely one of the ones that will always go down as one of my favorite matches, definitely of these two. And
Mhm,
the fact that, I mean, Shawn Michaels is one of the smartest brains in the business. And, I'm sure Chris Jericho at that point just was like, yeah, what do you want to do? You
mhm.
know, and from a wrestling point of view, you weren't getting better than that on the card. Now,
No.
that being said, we move along
Yeah.
into the screw job of the night.
And then some,
I,
and then some.
I
Uh,
mean, I
as a
mean,
kid as a kid, I just didn't understand, Tid. As a kid as a kid, I just didn't understand. I was like, because one, Booker T, really, really, really popular at this time, like a lot more popular than you would expect, honestly. Um, and then Triple H and Ric Flair. I mean, that was Triple H was like my heel champion as a kid. This
Okay.
is like when, between him and then later on JBL, it was like, okay, who's the champion right now? It's like, well, my champion, Triple H. It's like, because he's the first one that you thought of, because everybody was fighting over and trading the
Right.
title on the other side, right? But he was the constant. But it was like, this was so a Booker T moment. It was like the story was building up. The story was kind of there about this uh, underprivileged man that had kind of a bad reputation, and this was like
Well,
rags to riches.
but I
And
mean,
then,
the whole, you're never gonna win a championship like this because you're a criminal. Like it was
yeah,
basically they were like, no, just go ahead and say it. Say it.
yeah, yeah.
Say what you really want to say.
Yeah, as a kid, I did not get the race undertone. I just
Right.
that
Okay.
was so for me, it was just, oh yeah, he's just some criminal that's been like pushed down and somehow he's made it to the WWE and he's managed to beat Triple H on Raw one time. It's like, yeah, he could totally do this. Like fantastic. No idea about the race stuff. To me, it was just rags to riches story. And then they go on to have what is like a pretty decent match when you think about it. Like it's a great match. Booker T's really good, and Triple H, regardless of whether or not some people find him boring in some matches or that his matches go on too long, he's still fantastic in the ring with pretty much anybody he was ever in the ring with, and I would argue that with everybody that he was ever with. So they had a good match. It's just that finish is that is unacceptable behavior.
But I mean, he hurt his knee.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure.
Here's the worst part is they did it with what's called an Indian deathlock.
Yes.
So there was
Yeah.
just racism all over this match from start to finish.
Peppered in. And Jerry Lawler just would not quit on commentary about how much of a low-life scumbag this guy is, to the point JR is like, you need to shut the fuck up. Knock it off.
Absolutely. All right.
Yeah.
And we've got a couple left in this one, and we're starting to ramp it up. And, they throw in the popcorn match here, in my opinion, because what are you really going to do at this point? Of course, it's going to be a street fight. And the stipulation is what? That if Hogan loses, he has to retire.
Putting the boots up. That's it. Putting the boots away. Put the
Come on.
boots away, brother.
Did you ever have any doubt who was going to win this?
No.
Okay.
I wanted to see Vince McMahon get killed. And
Everybody did. And
yeah.
still to this day.
Yes. Even more so. But now they also want to see Hogan get killed too. But like at this, this match is another one of my absolute favorites because it's so wacky and it's so crazy. And I remember this match being my most anticipated
Really?
back then. Yes, yeah, because like it was all about the star power, right? For me, it was like Hulk Hogan is gigantic, big, huge, over the top character. Vince McMahon is the scummy owner, the evil boss, and he's like hamming it up to the. So it's like these characters were larger than life. They treated it like it was a big, huge deal. Like the video package before this is one of my favorite video packages of all time because it builds up Hulk Hogan as this mythical god. And
Sure.
the idea that these guys for 20 years have been inseparable, which I mean, obviously is a massaging of the truth, but because he went off to WCW for ages. But
Sure.
be that as it may, they build this up as this big thing, and then the match happens, and it's like, even on commentary, they're like, they built WrestleMania together, they built this business, they built this company together, and now they're here, and it's like, oh, like, as a kid, that's my shit, man. And sometimes I don't need 5-star in-ring wrestling.
Okay.
Sometimes I just need Vince McMahon bloody as hell with a lead pipe peeking up over that thing, and just evil Vince. That's all I need. I've literally got goosebumps just thinking about it.
I mean, who doesn't? Who doesn't like the story of, you get to smash a chair over your boss's head repeatedly,
Yeah.
So who knows? I mean, I'm sure that Vince McMahon has CTE. There's no doubt about it. And then we work our way up into the co-main, right, of this whole thing. And you think The Rock, Steve Austin, the two biggest names in the WWE at that time. No doubt about it, right?
Yeah. I'm surprised looking back now that it wasn't the main event, given the information that we know. But I also understand, for Austin's point of view, why it wasn't. Just because of his health concerns and stuff going into this, because he was in the hospital the day before, and with a huge fever and dehydrated, extremely stressed apparently about putting on a good show. Because what we didn't know, and what they did not make public at all, was that this was his final match. Which was crazy to me. They didn't hype it up. There was no ballyhoo. It was just, he's going off into the sunset tonight, and we're just gonna have this match,
which is the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah. I mean, that's fantastic, because it's like, there's no kind of, there's no like certain pressure that the fans have, because
there's no closure. There's no closure on it. If I come out and tell you as a promoter, ladies and gentlemen, tonight is Steve Austin's last match, and then I still try to sell his merchandise, that's going to do nothing. But if I come out and don't say anything, and all of a sudden you can just keep his name in your mouth, just keep mentioning him, do a little promo here and there or something, right? Boom, you're still selling merchandise. And then you fast forward to 2022, and there's still Steve Austin. Who knows?
Yeah.
Always a hell of a match. The Rock back then, I mean, putting on the vest, impersonating, throwing in the sharpshooter, just as a
Rock,
kind of like blah. It was fantastic. There's no doubt about it. It was
Hollywood Rock. Hollywood Rock at his finest is great. It was a good match. Fantastic stuff. It was like, it's odd to see that it's like, you could really pin, like, this is where the Attitude Era officially ends. This match right here, like all the other little tricklings that have kind of lingered on throughout everything, but it's like this right here. That's you could pinpoint that bit. And
you had to kind of know that Steve Austin was on a different level too, because it wasn't just your typical Rock, boom, one rock bottom, done.
That's right. Yep.
3 of these things.
That's right. 3
rock bottoms on Stone Cold Steve Austin. So, I mean, 1 of them puts him out for the match. 2 of them puts him out for the week. Apparently 3 of them puts him out for 20 years.
That's right. It's not until WrestleMania 38. That's when he recovers.
Absolutely. And then we move our way up into the mainest of main events with, a young Brock Lesnar and a youngish Kurt Angle.
Yes. But
in a main event that creates a moment that ends up being a highlight reel moment for the wrong reasons. Like, I don't know if you're maybe not old enough, but some of you are, and you can go back and watch this. There used to be this show on TV called Wide World of Sports. And at the beginning of Wide World of Sports, every weekend when it was on, there was only one thing that you would watch this. They would put this montage together of different sporting events, for a Wide World of Sports, the big intro or whatever. And there was always this one clip of somebody going down the ski ramp, the jump for the long jump on the skis, right? And right before they get to the end of the jump, they wipe out and they
Oh,
just shit off the end of this ramp and all the way down the mountain. It's one of the greatest early wipeouts of my childhood. And that is the kind of moment, you know what I mean, that lasts
it
forever.
is.
That's what
Yes,
this moment was for Brock
very true.
Lesnar with that shooting star press in it. Now,
Very true.
that how excited were you? You must have been just like fucking ropes all over the room at this point, waiting
Yeah.
for this main event.
Yeah, because like I said at the top, was like SmackDown was my show compared to Raw. Like Raw, I would try to tune in, but it was a bit too late night for me. SmackDown was on an hour earlier at that point, right? So I was able to watch that on Thursdays, so it was great. So I followed this very, very closely. This was one of my top anticipated matches. I just had a whole show where I was like really, really happy with everything that I had seen up until that point. And as a kid, I the actual in-ring wrestling I did not appreciate as much until this show where I got to see Shawn and Jericho. I got to see that story be told, and then I got to see the pure wrestling that was put on display here. I was like, oh, okay. So it's like all the different flavors of wrestling on this show. It was like,
For
good.
me, this was kind of when you realized how good Brock was, and even
Yeah.
more so how good he's going to be at this
Hmm.
point, and how
Yeah.
strong Kurt Angle is.
Yeah.
Holy crap. You know what I mean?
The match is nuts. The match
Yeah.
is nuts because it feels like it's one of those matches that feels like a genuine fight. Like it
Mhm.
actually seems like these men are trying to out wrestle each other a little bit, actually trying to grind each other down. It feels like a real wrestling match, which is so good, and it gives the title so much legitimacy. And it gives Brock Lesnar so much legitimacy because these guys just grind it out. And to have this fucking meat monster go up for for a shooting
After
star press.
and we're talking what 20 some minutes into the
Yeah,
match. You
yes,
know what I
20
mean? Like
minutes in.
20 minutes in, he decides to, or not quite 20, because the match is only like 22 minutes,
Yeah,
probably about 18, 19 minutes in. He decides to go up, botches this. Now you got to rest for what? A minute and a
yeah,
half, and still comes back, boom, hits another F5,
exactly,
hits the cover.
exactly.
It's like Brock Lesnar is a beast of
Yes,
beasts. There's no doubt
such
about it.
a freak of nature, right? Like just such a freak.
Yeah.
And the idea that the match is not just an absolute train wreck and you can get up and just be like F5 done, boom,
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, and it's not like a total train wreck
Bro,
is a miracle in of itself.
I've said it before. I'll say it again. Drugs are cool, and adrenaline is the biggest one,
Yes. Yes.
right?
Yeah. 1000%. 1000%. But yeah, like
Well,
you can't get much better than that, man.
all right.
Like
All right. So this was your favorite WrestleMania for those reasons, all of
yes.
those matches. KJ. Okay. Um, and you don't think that this WrestleMania is going to live up to all of the hype?
I hope I'm proven wrong. I hope I'm proven wrong because a lot of the times I've gone in, especially with the last, few manias, barring the COVID one, because of course, but the last few manias, I go in there and I'm like, meh, it's probably gonna be fine. And then it ends up being quite good. Like WrestleMania 38 to me, those 2 nights, fantastic. So I hope that I'm proven wrong and it ends up being something really, really special and really, really cool. It's just,
All right.
for me being in my little rut of wrestling, of current wrestling, and just not enjoying it as much as I used to, it makes me a little bit pessimistic going in.
And what is on the WrestleMania menu for KJ the Outturn?
The WrestleMania menu,
Yeah. This is the part where you're going to tell me it's going to be chicken nuggets.
I've upgraded to tenders. I've upgraded to tenders and onion rings.
Oh, so not nuggies.
I mean, if worst
Did you
comes
get a
to
raise?
worst,
Did you get a raise at work? That's why you get the tenders now.
that's right. That's right. Yeah. You get the good Fortino
It's like
tendies.
it's like 3 nuggies put together, all in one strip. Do you
So
feel
good.
like you're eating less now? Is that what the deal is? I only
I
had
do.
8 tenders as opposed to a 40 piece of nuggets.
That's right. Yeah, what's not to love? And you get the onion rings going, and it's great. It's a good time. And then you get barbecue sauce.
All
Dip
right.
them in. You're having
All
a
right.
great old time. You're having a
Well,
great old
listen,
time.
I'm sure that whatever it is that you're going to have on your WrestleMania menu is going to be fantastic.
Mhm.
So, KJ, thank you so much. I'm going to wrap this whole thing up.
Thank
Tell
you.
everybody where they can catch you.
You're gonna find me on the Colossal Tussle podcast. That's where we're doing retro wrestling reviews. Myself and just John. Currently going through Ric Flair, Ricky Steamboat, and moving on to Ric Flair and Terry Funk, and reviewing 1989 WCW. So that's been a really good and exciting time. You can find me at Director KJ on Instagram, where I do all sorts of stuff, not just with wrestling podcasts, but also do photography work, acting classes, and things like that. Some sexual innuendos for my OnlyFans. That's very, very private. Don't talk about it, for fuck's sake. Only the highest of subscribers. And yeah, so you find me there, and at Colossal Tussle 1 on Twitter, where I can just, chat it up and get all political on you.
Excellent. And of course, KJ's clapbacks on the law, live audio wrestling right here. If you like this, cool. If you don't, cool. Either way, hit that subscribe button, because you're never going to know until you know what the next one is up. Hit that like, leave us a comment. If you're listening to this after the fact, we appreciate y'all as well. Share it, like it, comment on it, all of those things. And we might be doing some more of these things over the weekend. It is WrestleMania weekend after all. There's a lot going on. And we're going to get to it here very shortly. We might be back over the weekend. Otherwise, everybody have a very safe, very happy, very wonderful WrestleMania 40 weekend. This has been a look back at a WrestleMania 19 that may have been one of the best WrestleManias, with a cast of some of the worst human beings on the face of the planet. That's all I'm saying.
Couldn't have said it any better myself.
Special shout out to my boy, the Blue Meanie, Brian Heffron from South Philly, and his, that's right, brand new bride. Tracy Root is not a Root no more. She's a Heffron. And congratulations to two of the nicest, most wonderful people on the planet that I know. God bless. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much, KJ. Thank you to everybody who watched it. And if you didn't like it, read this, bitches.